while the entire nation is still coming out from the hangover of the World Test Championship final loss, there is one Indian who is pretty happy that the Kiwis have won, and she is here with me to review the World Test Championship final. Uh, Miss Sritama Panda. Hi Sritama, how are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good. It's been a tough few weeks personally, but this like really has been a game changer for me. I feel so much better now because of this. I was obviously looking forward to the World Test Championship final for so long. It's almost like I think more than 4 months since we made it to the final, and I was waiting for it, but the rain, like, it ruined 2 days, and I was very skeptical about a result coming out of this game. But finally, this result in our favor, in New Zealand's favor, has really been so positive. Like it's added a positive flavor to my personal life.
So for those who don't know, Sritama was one of the seniors when I first started working as an intern at Sports Cafe, and then she has gone on to work for. If you can tell, it will be better. Yeah.
I have been like in this industry since 2019, and not long. Uh, I mean, full time since 2019. I was an engineer before that, so I was freelancing
Oh,
through
same.
that time.
Engineers. Yeah,
Uh,
we find a way to love the game. Yeah, same engineer too.
like no part of me is an engineer anymore,
Yeah, same, same.
except for the college memories. That's it.
Yeah.
But like sports, the love for cricket was inspiration alone to have drawn me here to
So,
this.
where did the love for New Zealand come from? Right, being an Indian, as you said that you grew up with your father watching games, and then where did this love for New Zealand come? If you could tell our viewers.
It was pretty early, but like it was before the time that I could actually understand what glory in sports means, what winning in sports means. It's just not that I had not seen New Zealand win, but it. I was too young. I was too young, and I was in kindergarten when I fell in love with that team. And I'm just like I've just realized it that I'm very very loyal. And yeah, just because my dad supports India, I don't have to support India. That's what I realized with time,
Yeah.
and I just stuck to one team forever. Like
So,
plan on doing it
yeah.
forever.
So after the pain of 2019, how relieving was it, to see New Zealand finally lift a major trophy, and that too with the two main pillars. I would say the two best batsmen New Zealand have ever produced in Ross Taylor and Williamson. How was it?
Yeah, it was great. I'm like it's not even been 48 hours. It's really great. I'm still processing it because when things don't go your way for so many years, it's been consistently like uh, bad for us. We have
Yeah.
been unlucky so many times, and you just think that maybe there's a jinx somewhere which we are not able to break. But yeah, we broke everything, like beyond against all odds. We finally were able to win an ICC final, like a second. Like for me, it's my first, so I would say this is my first. Um, Ross Taylor, again. Ross Taylor is probably my favorite cricketer in the world. So Ross Taylor hitting the winning runs, and with Kane Williamson, that too. I mean, Kane Williamson is the captain, and the best batsman this team has ever produced. So Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor doing it for New Zealand, it's just insane, and against all odds. It's so personal. It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
And with regards to 2019, I mean, the 2015 World Cup, I understand we were a better team as compared to 2019. We were a better team in the 2015 World Cup. But like if you look at the results, how we qualified and everything, but the final was, as New Zealand fans, as New Zealand team, we are all equipped to accept defeat. We don't have a problem in accepting defeat. So when we lost that final, it was fair and square. It was heartbreaking, definitely. It was our first after so many heartbreaks in semi-finals.
Yeah.
But it was a defeat, so we could accept it. In 2019, we lost a World Cup without losing the final. So you just start questioning yourself, like you just start questioning everything, that why does everything have to go against you? And nothing makes up for that World Cup, because we did not lose the game. We did not lose the final. Nothing makes up for it. And the World Test Championship final, the World Test Championship and the World Cup will always be two different things. Even though there's so much happiness related to this, associated with this win, I think that night will never stop hurting. Never.
So, talking about the main, what I feel was the main difference, the potent New Zealand pace quartet, the way they complemented each other. Every person played a role, right? Although the star of the show was Jamieson, about which we will talk later. But the main, I would like to talk about the unsung heroes, Trent Bolt, be it Tim Southee, who took the openers wickets on the final, on the second last day, and then Wagner, just with his short ball ploy. Wagner, I want to know something about Wagner. How do you cope up with a situation where you grow up, you are developed into a swing bowler, but you know that there are 3 first choice pacers ahead of you who will get the new ball, so you have to bowl the dirty overs, you have to just come in and bang it short and still be successful. So how is it to have such team players?
I mean, this space quartet has really been the game changer for New Zealand. Even if we had played Matt Henry, we have seen in the second test against England how Matt Henry did. So
I'll remember what he did in the semi-final. Yeah,
sort of talent here, but we went with the first team, the preferred team. To go without a spinner was the right decision, because we knew what the conditions are going to be. Yeah. So I think I expected that there won't be a spinner after the test series. I realized that against England, I realized that New Zealand are going to play without a spinner, and they did the right thing there. And with Trent Bolt. So what we saw in the second test, he wasn't in great form, but you go with your best team. That's what India did. You go with your best players. Yeah. So no matter how much, in hindsight, you feel that, no, Bumrah shouldn't have played, Siraj should have played, you shouldn't go into that. You just should be happy with the players you have, because these are the best players that you've produced. And Wagner is not, a recent phenomenon. He's been in the side for years, and he's been delivering. And Southee is one of the foundation. He forms the foundation. Southee, Ross Taylor, BJ Watling, and Kane Williamson, all of them who made their debuts before, in the last decade. That is not considering this decade, but 2010 and before. Yeah. So that is totally different. There's no reason to question Tim Southee. If you really follow New Zealand cricket, you'll understand how important he is. The only problem that makes him an all format generation talent, he could have been that. The only format that he has lost his mojo in, that's ODIs. But in tests and T20s, he's always been the Tim Southee for us. He's very important. And about Wagner knows that he's a workhorse. He has to bowl those overs. He's our first change bowler, and he's always going to. And with Jamieson, he's become the second change bowler. So with Wagner, it's always difficult. Portrait have struggled, Wagner has delivered, and this has been for years. So I just think, and Jamieson is probably not probably, he's for sure as our recent phenomenon, a revelation for us, and it's huge. I'm just looking forward to his future, because this team, we are going to hold on to this team for what, a, a couple of years, or just a little more than that, because everyone is nearing 35 and Ross Taylor is 35 plus. So uh, he's 37 in fact. So
Yeah.
time is running out, but then younger talents like Jameson coming in just shows that we have time to build another team by the time these greats retire.
Yeah. So, talking about yesterday, I had a look at our World Test Championship cycle, and New Zealand are touring India. And one thing that I also discussed with Glenn was that the big booming in swinger of Kyle Jamieson, the way he messed up with Kohli's brain, the way he got him out, it was not an incoming delivery. It was just a mere poke. But people who have just seen the dismissal will say that, what was Kohli doing? He was just fishing outside the off stump. But the fact that he made him play that shot was the build up before that. So he's given this big booming in swinger, and given the fact that New Zealand are touring India later this year. So what do you feel, that do you feel Kyle Jamieson is going to be the main threat, given the fact that there will be reverse swing on offer, right? So one thing that I believe is that the way people say that Jamieson is only good in swinging conditions is wrong. I feel that although he has played I guess he has just played one test in Sri Lanka, and rest of all was at home before this final. So what do you feel about that?
See, Jameson is definitely untested in the longest format when it comes to subcontinent conditions. But I think he's with his skill set, he is someone who will be the difference this time. That the X factor, not just the subcontinent. I think if he had been to Australia, the Australia series that we were whitewashed so badly, 3-0. Even in that series, I feel if Jameson would have been there, he could have made a difference with a skill set which is not just a one-dimensional kind of a skill set. So I am looking forward to the subcontinent tour. It will not be easy for New Zealand, but it wouldn't be easy for India either,
Yeah.
even though India have the advantage.
Yeah. So, talking about the final, the first innings, New Zealand took a lead, and India once again couldn't, even after having them on the mat at 162 for 6, they couldn't dismiss them, without taking a first innings lead. So, where do you feel India is going wrong? I believe that the bowlers were a bit short. They didn't learn from the New Zealand paces. This is what I feel. But what do you think India could have done different in that first innings?
To be fair to India, I think a little bit, conditions. Of course, there are conditions in offer. There's favored New Zealand pacers a little more, but with the quality of Indian pacers that India has, it's arguably the best pace attack. But what what really went there, I think we should give credit to the New Zealand batsmen as well. Like except Trent Bolt, everyone can bat. So you just but India also has some players, like except Bumrah. I think Bumrah and Trent Bolt are very similar batters. They are very entertaining. But you just scored a duck, I think. So India were spared of that threat. Otherwise, New Zealand have formed a really good tail. So of course, when you say that India's tail is not strong and they are not pacers are not able to, bowl out the tail easily these days, something is wrong with the team. I think it happens sometimes when you're. I think we should give credit to the New Zealand batters down
Yeah,
the line.
absolutely. So all that happened.
And pacers and Indian pacers having a bad day doesn't mean, or a bad day or two, or a bad test doesn't mean that there's a major flaw in their game plan.
Absolutely. So, New Zealand took that crucial lead, and then India had to bat well, right? They had to bat well. Coming into the final day, they were 64 for 2. What were your thoughts? Did you believe that New Zealand could collapse them? If I remember a test, as I also spoke with Glenn about the same thing. There was a test in a 2006-7 Ashes in Adelaide, where England were in a similar position. They were just trailing by a bit, or had taken a slender lead. And going into the final day, Australia collapsed collapsed the England batting lineup, and then they chased down the target. Same 130 odd. So, did you believe that the same thing could happen, or really that it was just poor execution by the Indian batsman? Like I wanted to ask, what was it? Was it good bowling by New Zealand, or was it poor batting by India?
I would definitely give credit to the bowlers, but the thing at 64 for 2, when Rohit Sharma had actually played out a good number of deliveries, I think the openers, not Gill, but Rohit Sharma, like even Gill in the first inning, but coming to the second innings, they did their job. Rohit Sharma did his job, and I really thought that this is going to be like, I did not expect them to bundle up so quickly after that. But yeah, again, credit to the New Zealand bowlers. They did their part. But again, India's problem is sometimes the difference between the approach and the balance. It's okay to be your own self. Rishabh Pant will be Rishabh Pant. Pujara will be Pujara, but you have that understanding, because Rishabh Pant was the guy, was the single person who thought that no, I have to win this game in Australia. At Gaba, he knew that.
That way.
Yeah. So it's not wrong to be yourself. Sometimes your approach works, sometimes it doesn't. Now India's dilemma was like whether to give a target to New Zealand or to stay those overs. But then ultimately it was a collapse. The tail did not come through, and it could happen on any day. That's the role of a tail. It just gives you surprises, and sometimes it doesn't deliver. Like, to give Rishabh Pant all the blame, to put the blame on Rishabh Pant would be very unfair, because the way he bats, like, it's being proven. For the before the Australia series, there was so much against his approach. There was so much talk against his approach, but it worked out in Australia. In this test, it did not work out. So there's no point. I don't think there's any point pointing fingers at one particular player or one. As a team, India needs to uh, discuss this. Maybe what's been the problem. Was there a communication issue? Was there an issue with someone's approach? Because you cannot suddenly say that there was an approach. You are a team, you are obviously discussing a team should know that whether or not India is going for a draw or a proper result. So I think it happens, and they need to discuss it. Australian conditions, and it wasn't a final. That, and here it's different. The teams were also different. But more than that, I think it's about that communication between the team.
So you spoke about the fact that in Australia the team were different. Do you think that the unpredictable factor was the thing that helped India and Australia? I mean to say that the New Zealand pacers knew that the Indian tail is long. Like, nobody from Ishant and Ishant can bat, Shami can slog, but the runs won't come. Indian tail enders average, I guess, around 15, 16 runs. So after 6 down, it's like just walk over. So do you feel there was a pattern there, and India needs to be more unpredictable? I mean to say by the fact that someone like a Shardul Thakur, he scored 67 runs and took 7 wickets in that Gabba test, and he is nowhere to be seen. Like, I don't know what wrong he has done. And Virat Kohli comes out in the press conference and says we don't have a seaming all-rounder. So do you think it's time India start grooming him too as a seaming all-rounder?
One thing I would say that while, see, we can always say that we were missing this player, we were missing that player, but at the end of the day, India fielded its best team. And you cannot, if you have to win a test, you cannot depend on your tail for batting. You cannot do that, no matter what. I mean, you can say that the tail did not bat well after the collapse, but you cannot expect your tail to just revive one innings before you have after there's been a collapse. So I think that's one issue there. I mean, New Zealand could have said, when Ashwin was bowling that well, New Zealand could have said that, oh, we should have taken a spinner, but that doesn't happen. You're so lucky that both Ashwin and Jadeja can bat. our only all-rounder, Colin Grandhome, hasn't been in form for a while. He wasn't even there in the team for a while. So, and even then, we were able to, pull through, and that's because you don't particularly depend on one player or just a cup, and definitely not the tail. Definitely not the tail. So that's been one difference. What was your second question?
Second question was about grooming a seeming all-rounder. The fact that he's saying that we don't have a seeming all-rounder in these conditions. Is India too much over dependent on when Hardik Pandya is going to return? Because if that takes a year or long, we cannot wait for a year, right?
Yeah, I mean, Hardik Pandya's injury has, put a restriction on his bowling. But again, if you just think about one player making the difference, it's not going to happen that way. You have to build a team with the players available, and India have the best bench strength in the world. So I don't think that is being, maybe in these conditions, if Kohli is saying that he has assessed things, and of course that can help India, but till Hardik Pandya is back, in full swing, you cannot wait for that. You have to realize and exploit the conditions the way they are. And yeah, in fact, the sun coming out on the final day and Ashwin bowling well, it really could have hurt New Zealand way more than they were hurt. So yeah, but it was a day six pitch. It was in fact behaving a little unusually. We had seen in Bumrah's and Shami's overs how Ross Taylor was hit on the helmet, and yeah, there was skid and everything. And day six pitch was a bit different. Otherwise, I think Ashwin could have been, if it was day four or day five, Ashwin, and there was sun, then Ashwin could have really done some damage there.
Yeah. So where do you see this New Zealand team now, going ahead, now that they are champions and now that they have to build on it? The fact that they have players like Conway who is in unbelievable form. Then there is the experience of Williamson. And then I guess there is Will Young also who can come in
Yeah.
case Ross Taylor or then there is Tom Blundell who will replace BJ Watling. So there is enough depth. You have the likes of Jimmy Neesham sitting outside. So what do you feel? Where is this New Zealand team going ahead?
As I said, like mentioned earlier in this chat, that we have players that are nearing 35 or 35 and are 35 plus. So we are like quite a not a young team. So there's this team is something that we cannot move on from immediately, but there are players coming in. We did not have a uh, proper like spinning all rounder who can bat. We can say that Santner can bat. So all these years we have been playing Santner because Santner can bat, but that is not reliable. And we have realized that. Finally, we have realized that while he's a very good limited overs cricketer, I think in Test cricket we have to do better. So we have Rachin Ravindra from Wellington, and he's promising. He was there with the team on the England tour, so I think he has gained some experience from there. So, and players like Devon Conway and Kyle Jamieson, these players again, they're under 30, so a team can be built around them, and it's looking good. The future is looking good, and we have some time for now. For now, we can play these talents. We can groom these talents, and they can form a future team. So
Yeah.
and Devon Conway can be the next Kane Williamson. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. The future is looking bright for New Zealand. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your insights on the World Test Championship final, and it was really fun talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.